Adam Wilborn, which WWE nightmare could come true in 2025?
Cody Rhodes is the best. Unquestionably. I think, it's been said before by yourself that he's arguably the same level of star, if not even a bigger star than John Cena was. He is the guy for WWE, and it was quite right that he didn't win the title at WrestleMania 39 and finish the story at WrestleMania 40, as I said all along. But the danger you have, and I'm really excited for when he does eventually turn heel, the danger you have is either you delay that heel turn or you delay if he drops the title, preferably to The Rock, but if he drops the title later than anticipated, is that the fans start to turn on Cody Rhodes before you really want them to. Now, he is beloved by 99.9% of the WWE audience. There were people trying to suggest in the few months after he won the title at WrestleMania 40, I'm not sure this is working out. And I thought, well, let's look at the viewership and the ticket sales and merch sales. I think he's doing pretty well for himself. But yes, there's always that danger when you are the beloved babyface at the top of the card, no matter who you are, that people after a while want something different, whether that is a heel version of you or just someone else as champion. And I think the danger with that is, it's all well and good when, Roman Reigns, should he lose to Kevin Owens? Should he lose to Sami Zayn? No, finally he does eventually, as I say, lose to Cody Rhodes. But that doesn't matter if it pisses people off too much, because he's a heel, he's meant to do that. Whereas if Cody Rhodes keeps beating these heels that they bring up, like a Kevin Owens, for example, and doesn't put the people over in the right way, or just starts getting that Super Cena aura about him, the danger is that fans will start to turn on him and get sick of him. Now, that might work brilliantly. That might work into the sort of Homelander heel turn that he's going to get into. But the danger is, if they, in their heads, they do a lot of long-term planning now in WWE. The danger is if they decide, right, well, we're going to turn Cody heel at WrestleMania 42, for example, or in the build-up aftermath of that, then you're stuck with a year where they have to do the whole always gets a reaction, Cody Rhodes, dividing the WWE universe like we got with the sort of latter-day John Cena stuff when they just had no one else. And they don't just have Cody Rhodes. You've got a multitude of people that you could switch it to. So the danger is they decide to hold off on doing whatever they need to do with him, dropping the title or turning him heel for too long. And the fans, I can't believe I'm saying this, turn on Cody Rhodes in 2025.
So a WWE nightmare that could come true next year, 2025. So it seems a bit of a stretch right now, because I feel like he's finally in a happy place and I'm happy for him. Like, I love to see him happy, but CM Punk could turn sour again. It could happen, all right? Just hear me out. It could happen. I don't want it to happen, but it could. So he's had a pretty calm ride since he's come back to WWE. I've loved to see it. Like, he got the great return at Survivor Series, had some incredible moments on the mic, like promo battles, great Royal Rumble showing. The injury happened, but then he was still around. He was still in his sling, making moments. Then when he came back, he's had the big Drew McIntyre stuff, epic Hell in a Cell match. He's had an awesome run, and he seemed really happy, like going to the NXT and just feeling valued and loved and all that. I think he's in a good spot, Mr. Punker. But we know how quickly things can change. I believe when he first started in AEW, for those first couple of months, maybe up to a year, seemed like he was having a great time. And then it just switched, didn't it? Somebody rubbed him up wrong, like backstage. Like, that could happen in WWE. Like, maybe he doesn't feel valued. Maybe they don't offer him the opportunity that he feels he deserves in a moment. Maybe they don't give him that WrestleMania main event that he really wants. Something could happen. It's CM Punk, man. I love him, but he's a volatile dude, and he might just suddenly decide, you know what, I'm sick of this, and just spit his dummy out, and then all hell could break loose. And that would be not great for WWE, just in general right now, because I think they've really created a positive environment and a really healthier environment backstage. You don't really hear of many fallouts in the locker room or anything like that, and I think if that were to happen and that negativity was then to infect the locker room, it wouldn't be great for WWE right now, it wouldn't be great for the wrestlers, the talent, not a good look for the company. It was the risk that we had when before Punk was brought in. A lot of people were saying, is he worth the trouble? And we've seen in the last year or so that he seems to be in a better place, and hopefully that continues. I'm not wishing this, I'm just saying this could be a nightmare that happens happens, because the history has taught us a lot, hasn't it, Mr. Punker? I hope he's okay. I hope nothing happens. I hope he gets everything he wants in a bag to put it in, and I hope he has a long, lovely end to his career in the ring in WWE, and then goes on and goes behind the scenes and does all the NXT stuff. I hope they all live happily ever after. I do. I just got a bad feeling, because they always do. I'm an anxious guy, and that's what I feel with all this Punk stuff, so we'll see what happens. Could be a nightmare.
So, a WWE nightmare that could come true in 2025 for this bald jackass would be another championship belt. Because there's so many, I don't think I can name them. Now, look, don't get me wrong, I'm happy that we included the US women's and the IC women's. It's long overdue, but again, in my world, I just wanted one. But that's the same for the men, I just want one. It's the same for the tag belts, I just want one. I'm terrified they're going to add like a Raw and SmackDown women's tag team division. We don't need that at all, we just don't, or a belt I should say. Can I even name them? So you've got WWE Universal Super Whooper Championship, you've got the World Heavyweight Championship, you've got 2 Intercontinental Championships, you've got 2 USAP Championships, you've got 3 Tag Team Championships, you've got the Speed Championship, you've got obviously NXT Men, NXT Women's, NXT Tag Team, NXT North America on both sides, and the Heritage Cup. I wasn't counting them with my fingers, but I'm pretty sure that's close to 20 championships, which is just way too many. So the only one I can think they would add would be a women's, like I say, Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Championship, and you just don't need it. Like, due respect, it's been much better the latter part of 2024, but WWE hasn't booked that thing very well since day one. And sometimes it's vanished off our screens, and then every time somebody has it, they seem to get injured, so it's sort of cursed, thanks to Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. But there you go, there's 2 people that we need to be doing something with, so let's not marry up and marry it even more. Let's make sure we get stuff done. So maybe Nightmare's a little bit strong, a little bit extreme, but there's few things you could actually do. Like, I mean, a nightmare would be, I don't know, Cody Rhodes falls off. This is not going to happen, right? He's the most over babyface ever, and I totally love him. But I don't think we need to add any more titles. That goes for all promotions right now. If we can get it back down to 4, that'd be fantastic.
The women's tag team titles haven't exactly had the best legacy, let's say, in the history of their time in WWE. They've kind of been forgotten about and been like secondary things and just like pushed off to the side when they're even on TV at all. They've tried this year, which, I mean, trying is better than nothing, which is a really low bar to beat, really. But they're now introducing the Women's Intercontinental title and the Women's US title. And as we're recording this, I should say, this could go out weeks from now, they're right in the middle of the title tournaments for them both, which is an incredibly uninspiring way to start 2 brand new titles in your promotion that is being lauded everywhere for how incredible the storylines are and how hot the crowds are and how great the creative is. It's really dull. It's the least you could possibly do to introduce a title, basically, is what they've done with these. And the nightmare that could come true is that both of these belts end up in the same state as the women's tag team titles. Like I say, they've tried a little bit with the women's tag team titles. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, obviously, they looked amazing with them. It's unfortunate for Jade Cargill with the way that ended, but it's still a super low bar in terms of where they rank within the WWE system of titles in general. They are right down at the bottom, and if they put the same amount of effort, the same amount of thought, the same amount of energy into the Intercontinental title and the US title as they have been putting into the women's tag team titles, which, let's face it, isn't beyond the realms of possibility, that will suck. Yeah. And this moment where you're supposed to be introducing parity across the 2 divisions with one of the most promising women's divisions kind of sat there waiting for you in NXT, ready for the future, that will all just disappear into this muddy waters of bad creative and sort of no forward thinking with any of them. So that is the worst, the nightmare that could come true in WWE. But you know what's not a nightmare that could come true? Buying WhatCulture merch. Available below this video now in the little shelf thing. Get yours today.
Oh, now this must be hard.
Yes.
Dr. Fed, what nightmares do you think could happen for WWE in 2025?
Well, my nightmare for WWE is broadly the same as it's been since we recorded this video in Christmas 2022, which is somehow all of this goes away. I have waited 20 years sifting through the sludge.
Oh, no! Your screen's gone off.
Oh,
there you go.
I'll go again. Sorry.
Take 2, Michael L. Hamlet, WWE Nightmare 2025.
My nightmare has existed since Christmas 2022, which is somehow all of this goes away. I have lived for this boom period. It doesn't matter how many jackets I'm wearing. I check my pulse, and it's boiling hot every day. The thing is, like, that, though, is the sort of thing that I don't want to manifest even by talking into existence on a video. I accept, and I've said all along, that bookers have runs, wrestlers have runs, and one day, like, the business becomes cyclical, whether that's used as an excuse or not, and WWE will go cold. So I hope this doesn't all go away, but my nightmare involves something going away, and it could happen very, very soon, maybe as soon as you are watching this video, and that is that the Netflix version of the WWE Network is barren. We have had 10 wonderful years of the WWE Network, and I don't really think there's anybody that isn't mourning its upcoming loss. Yes, the WWE Vault channel has arrived and has kind of reminded us what it is to not necessarily have choice in things, but be greeted with surprises and maybe not have planned to watch something because we're not spending all night with decision paralysis, not making up our mind, and instead just getting given the gift of whatever random surprise that channel throws up. But I will certainly miss just the almost daily use of the network that I have, where I, like many of people I imagine watching this video right now, have wrestling as their comfort food. The sort of thing that when you're not just watching the weekly churn or you're not just catching up with what your favourite wrestlers up to now, you might go back to a historic territory or a historic pay-per-view or some TV rarities or things like that, that just for when you can't get enough of the good stuff. There's even more on the WWE Network. And genuinely, obviously there's so much to be excited about WWE moving to Netflix in January and in 2025, not least of all the third hour of SmackDown. Thank you. I love you, Solo. But yeah, it does sort of feel like there will never be something quite like the network again. The people that held onto their spindles and all of their physical media and all their bags in the loft full of discs and VHSs, unlike me, that as soon as the network launched, bye. It feels like those will once again be the winners of this like sort of never-ending content war. Whatever you do, don't start a 90s nostalgia podcast a month before the entire 90s archive disappears, otherwise you could be in big trouble. Subscribe to Ben and Hamlet wherever you get your podcast. But yes, the WWE Network was a wonderful thing, and I don't even think, even when it was a poor version of itself, people didn't appreciate what they had. I definitely think we lived and loved the WWE Network, and I will be very sad to see the remnants of it when it finally moves over to Netflix.
Jake Paul at WrestleMania.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. I'm going there. It was teased recently, wasn't it? I think on Logan Paul's podcast, he had his brother on and asked him if he'd ever be interested in coming to the WWE, and I think he downplayed it. I think there's a distinct possibility. It doesn't have to be a match, does it? He could just show up and they could like elbow the Miz or whatever and go, hey! And I think that's an image that WWE want to do, is the Paul brothers in their ring at WrestleMania with their arms up, whatever. Imagine that on all the online publications. I mean, the Paul brothers, it's thumbnail fodder right there, you know. So I think that's the thing that could absolutely happen. Now, you could say, hey, what if he does get in the ring? What if he's great like Logan Paul? Like Logan Paul, subhuman creature, great at wrestling, as it turns out.
delicious drink.
Sure, yeah, right, okay. But Logan Paul is a delicious drink, right? But the thing about that is that's not going to happen a second time, because people have seen Jake Paul's boxing and it's not very good. So his wrestling probably also not going to be very good. Also, even worse person than Logan Paul. So just no, please don't take up time of my WrestleMania with these people, please. Just please.
As of this recording, NXT call-ups are said to be imminently on the horizon, either before the end of 2024 or in early 2025. Some of them, they may even have happened by the time you're watching this video. But what about these call-ups? What if they're the ones that really leave NXT struggling? That'd be quite the nightmare scenario, I would say. I mean, to be fair to NXT over the years, they've brilliantly navigated the loss of so many big names, often losing several talents at once as well. 3 of the 4 horsemen left in one hit. Bayley eventually left. Shayna Baszler, Asuka, Io Sky, Bianca Belair. Over on the men's side, there were so many focal points that were removed from that NXT chessboard, moving to Raw or SmackDown. You had Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Shinsuke Nakamura, Finn Balor, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Braun Breaker, Ilya Dragunov, Carmelo Hayes. The list goes on. You can even go back to like Neville, who was such a big part of NXT programming during those early days, or even go right back to Seth Rollins, the first ever NXT champion. The point being, NXT has learned to adapt, has had those next breakout stars in the wings, ready to be given the ball to run with. More often than not as well, it's somebody who's had that vast experience on the indies or in another notable promotion. Obviously, the NXT women's roster right now, though, that's pretty stacked. You've got Julia, Stephanie Vaquer, Zarya, they've come in. Talents like Kalani Jordan, Sol Ruka, Jada Parker have so much upside and potential. So maybe the women's roster wouldn't feel the loss of, say, Roxanne Perez too much. But on the men's side of things, is there enough depth there to fill a hole, say, if Trick Williams moves to the main roster? What if Ethan Page makes that jump? He may have only been in NXT for a cup of coffee, to paraphrase the Macho Man, but All Ego is absolutely main roster ready. And you look past Trick Willie, who's that next top babyface waiting? Javon Evans is great. Tony D'Angelo, a lot of fun. Chase U is massively over with that NXT crowd. But are any of those names really primed to replace Trick? Nah, no, they're not. Obafemi feels like he's either off to the main roster or will imminently become NXT champion. Wes Lee has been a great heel. Rich Holland has improved immensely. But what if, say, Oba moves to the main roster? What if management has seen enough in Bridge to give him another crack on the main roster? What if Ethan Page is given the ball to run with on the main roster? Also, how much of a blow would it be to NXT, to the tag team division, if they lost Axiom and Nathan Fraser? Because right now, for Axiom, they are miles ahead of any other NXT tag team. So again, NXT has time and time again proved that it can deal with the loss of its major stars, and time again, certain talents have surprised us all by stepping up in a big way to fill those gaps. But what if this time, in 2025, NXT finds itself unable to fill the void left behind on the men's roster in particular? The women, they seem like they'll be absolutely fine, but the male roster, yeah, that could be a problem.
You know, when I was just a wee Andy H. Murray running through the beautiful green glens of northeast Scotland, drinking that perfect spring water straight out of the river, hunting wild haggis with my own hands, celebrating the success of our unparalleled huge football club that nobody in this office can ever relate to, I was told one universal truth. That one universal truth was that no, there's no such thing as bad pizza. I later found in my life that yes, there is such thing as bad pizza. I've bought the budget range from Morrison's before. I've also eaten at Pizza Hut. So I've learned that one the hard way. It's not a universal truth. But later in life, as I discovered this wonderful thing called professional wrestling, I was told another universal truth. There is no such thing as a bad Royal Rumble. And then Triple H became WWE's head booker. Look, it's been a couple of years now with these Triple H versions of the Royal Rumble, and he's done wonderful things with WrestleMania. He has somehow made nostalgia, old guy shows good. Like, he's done wonders with Hell in a Cell, Drew and Punk this year. Incredible. How did we get that out of a PG product? It's mental. He's done wonderful things with a lot of brands that we thought were kind of dead. In the Royal Rumble, he's taken one that was excellent and turned it into a pile of rubbish. It's how do you get 4 Royal Rumbles? That's how many he's booked so far, right? So, yeah. 2 men's and 2 women's. How do you get them so catastrophically wrong? How do you make a Royal Rumble boring? There's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, the entrance music doesn't help. That is a big part of it. When you hear the sting and you hear the music, it energizes you immediately. It gets you going, right? It enhances your interest levels. But the structure of these things have just been pure slop. And there have been fun moments in there for sure. Things like the Cody and Gunther thing a couple of years ago. Things like Jordan Grace showing up. There's some good bits and pieces in there. But Triple H has not yet figured out the formula to a successful Royal Rumble. And if he doesn't figure that out in 2025, that is a bit of a nightmare. Because this is my favorite pay-per-view of the year. Like Wrestle Kingdom, any AEW show, WrestleMania. No, the Rumble. It's unique. It's fun. It's supposed to be fun until this guy took it over. I think, look, Pat Patterson, not a good guy, right? Not a good guy. He had the magic touch when he came to the Royal Rumble. Absolutely. He was the genius of putting these things together. He's no longer around. And nobody in his stead has been able to produce anything like that old magic. 1992, 2001, the Shawn Michaels one that Hamlet loves that I can never remember the year of. There you go. He just can't do it. Triple H has not been able to do it so far, and if it doesn't work in 2020 in January, I'm going to post something about it on the internet.
I want you to imagine a motion picture. The MGM Lion, the credits roll. This motion picture is about an action figure that comes to life. It's a nice, family-friendly, holiday pic that just comes out. People come. It's not high art, but it's an enchanting story about a young boy who makes friends with this action figure who's come to life. Now, this action figure is like a wrestler, big muscles and everything, okay? And he just loves playing with him in the ring, but he comes to life and he's his buddy, okay? This action figure, initially, he gets a little bit confused. I mean, I've come to life, that's weird. He's like, oh, wow. When he experiences consciousness for the first time, I mean, that would be a trip, right? Uh-huh. That would be a trip, experiencing consciousness for the first time. He's like, oh, wow. what's going on? And because he's like, doesn't have like, you know, like a proper body, he's got these legs that have just got one joint and all the rest of it. He can't really walk properly. His legs are, oh wow, the world and all its wonders. I wish I could move better to see it all, but I don't mind, the world's so wonderful. That's how John Cena wrestled when he came back about a year ago. It was so unbelievably weird. He's always been broad and theatrical. This is a guy dumb enough to say, the reason why I call my spot so loudly is so everyone in the back row's experience is ruined. I'm paraphrasing, but that's weirdly what he said. He's always been broad. This dude, when he came back, was like so rubbish. It was like really parodic. His facial expressions were bizarre. If you go on a hot tag, he would do like that. He would celebrate in the weirdest ways, like he had one joint. He was so odd. Now, this version of John Cena, as opposed to 2015 PWG Cena, or 2007, you're so awesome as a babyface sometimes that you have great matches with the great Khali, gone. That John Cena no longer exists. But WWE is so hot right now, Dr. Fed will tell you that you think, how can it get any better? Well, they're going to have this like really intricate long-term plan for John Cena's return, okay? It's going to have all of these like sort of peaks and troughs and valleys, these emotional returns, and can he win the title where he's just lost? Or there's loads he could do with this. The problem is that the performances might not back it up, and I know what you might be thinking, it's WWE, it's not really in-ring focused, they prefer their stories and the melodrama, and it's working magnificently for them. There is, however, a limit. If it doesn't really matter how emotionally invested the fans are in the build, in the characters, in the stakes. Say Jimmy versus Jey Uso is an example, right? The match has to meet a certain threshold of quality. If it doesn't, the fans will just turn away from it. It doesn't matter how over the characters are. To a point, the ring work has to be there, otherwise it'll just fall flat and not be very good, and you know, optically it's not going to be good for them at all. If they have, say, how many John Cena matches are going to be? 30? What if they're all as bad as Jimmy versus Jey? Eventually that could catch up to them and this turns into a bit of a farce. And